So, hello everyone, welcome to this week's Socratic Dialogue. The question for discussion for this week's Socratic Dialogue is, you just think of a business and explain the role of UX in that business success. And at the same time, how would you convince your team to think of UX? What ideas would you pass on to them? So based on this QFD, we'll have the discussion for today. And so which team would like to go first? But before starting the presentation, let's have a quick introduction from everyone, starting from Team Clarity Crew. You may begin now.
Hi, I'm Nandini and I'm working in GRS Lab and I will be participating on behalf of Clarity Group.
Hi, I'm Sarveshwar and I'm a UX designer with Deep Thought.
Hi, I am Dipesh Dey and I am from Team Clarity Q.
Hi, I'm Sanjeevni Sinha and I'm the coach for Team Clarity Group.
Hi, I'm Kartikeya. I'm part of Team Flowmakers.
Hi, I'm Daita. I'm part of Team Flowmakers.
Hi, I'm Vamsi. I'm part of Team Playmakers.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Ananya and coach for Team Flowmakers for today.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Shivam Swarnakar, and I will be the moderator for today's Socratic Dialogue. So you have heard the QFD. So which team would like to go first for the presentation?
Team Clarity Crew would go first.
Okay. So before you begin your presentation, let's have a quick 1-minute summary of your entire presentation, along with the reason behind the naming of your team as Team Clarity Crew. You may begin now.
Yeah, right. Well, we chose to name ourselves Clarity Crew because we believe UX is about making things clear for users, teams, and businesses. Good UX helps people take the next step easily, especially in moments of stress or urgency. Well, coming to our presentation, it shows how UX is not just design but a way of thinking. We walk through how it reflects company values, builds trust, and can be embedded across roles, not just in design teams. Ultimately, clarity in UX comes from a shared mindset, and we believe every team can build that from day one. Moving to moving forward, yeah. Imagine a telehealth startup. The tech works, security, clean UI, stable backend. But at 9 p.m., a single mother opens the app looking for help. She's tired, stressed, she doesn't care about features, she needs clarity and speed. That moment is UX. Not how it looks, but how it feels when urgency meets emotion. Moving forward, if you value empathy, you design simplicity. If you value speed, you test for clarity under stress. But if you value internal priorities more than user needs, users feels that too. UX is a mirror. It shows what your company truly respects, the user's time and attention. Handing it over to Dipesh.
Yeah, users don't operate in ideal condition. They are rushed, distracted, or emotional. Good UX understand what frustrates them, what slows them down, what do they hesitate. Great UX remove friction before it's felt. It's not about feature working. It's about the user not needing to think twice. Moving forward, Apple didn't win because of specs. It won on experience. 93% of Apple versus Samsung damages were for UX design. Amazon Prime works because it feels effortless. UX drives loyalty not by adding delight but by removing effort. Moving forward, you don't need a big team, just a shared habit. Engineers sit in on user call, PMs map emotional flow, not just features. Leaders ask, would I enjoy this under pressure? Simple tool like empathy, dashboard, or micro learning kits make UX a habit, not a department. Moving forward to Sarveshwar.
Steve Jobs didn't just approve design, he led it. He spent months on something as small as the edge curvature, because feel is function. When leadership thinks like users, UX becomes a strategic lens, not an afterthought. Moving on. Telehealth is one example, but this applies across industries. UX isn't a visual layer, it's how the businesses think. As GT fellows, we help teams shift from feature first to user first by making UX a culture. Because when teams think like users, they stop building tools and start building trust.
Thank you for your presentation, Team Clarity Crew. Over to Team Flow Makers for their questions based on the which you have heard so far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
so yes, Vamshi,
yeah,
you can.
yeah. How do you design user interfaces that deliver real-time feedback to reduce user anxiety?
Can you be more clear, Vamshi?
Yeah, to reduce the user anxiety, how you will design user interface in real-time feedback.
Did you guys understand the question?
I'm really sorry to hear it properly.
Please put your microphone just closer a bit.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now, Vamshi.
So how will you design the user interfaces to reduce the anxiety of users when when the data is delivered in real-time feedback?
Well, I think as we introduced that empathy is important, we wouldn't when trying to design, the team wouldn't think of themselves as designer, but as also someone who's using the app. So if they have empathy, they will be able to resonate with the users and come up with something which is much more like good for others. And also we are also, while introducing, we are trying to take users opinion as well, have some detailed survey and data, and just try to take their inputs and remarks into our design.
Any other
Yeah.
questions for Team Clarity Crew?
Yeah. So in the presentation, you have mentioned that giving 10 solutions or ideas would lead to confusion. So how would you choose best solutions or best ideas from them?
That point was in respect to when you are giving the user options. So if we give them multiple options, we're not helping them by giving multiple options, we'll just confuse them more. So that was related to that we should give less options and like minimum options, which do not restrict their like freedom, but also do not confuse them.
Any
Adding
follow-up questions?
Yes, I would just like to add on to that point.
Yeah, Nandini.
Yeah, many apps include their beta versions, and it's a choice provided that if you're willing to opt for it. So some of the users do want to try out new features and they opt for beta to see. So new features are introduced to them, so users give their review. And some people who are unwilling to go through, changes that are not permanent, or something which is still wobbly, they don't choose to do that. So we will give a similar advice so we can follow that pathway. Have a pool of users who can go for beta version, see what works and what doesn't, and then relaunch the modifications into a further one.
Okay. Does it answer your question,
Yes, sure.
Karthika? Any other follow-up questions for Team Clarity Crew?
Yes. So, how do you remove the blockers that the users feel? Like, does the leader follow any specific techniques or?
I think reviews are very important. If in case if we look at app space, they constantly ask us to rate them, right? To take some time out of them and give input. Even when we try a new place, and I have been asked, and I'm sure pretty all of us can relate that they ask us to leave a review. So yeah, reviews are very important for efficiency management and taking inputs from it. So yeah, we just can ask them for reviews.
So basically relying on the feedbacks, right?
Well, that's a major factor, and we can also test it out before rolling out the final version, see how it's getting, you know, getting response, as I said about the beta example. And
Mm.
then perhaps a menu, we can launch a dish for sample, not make it a permanent item, see how people are responding. And if they like it, then we can make it an official item in the menu so they can order it.
To add on to that, it also becomes about us tracking those interactions that people are having with our product, right? With our app, for example, what are people actually looking for, right? So we can track all that through our panel. So we can also keep tabs according to that.
Any follow-up questions?
Yeah. So before launching it, so how can we test the user experience unbiasedly? So because we'll not be having like current users to test it. So what kind of technique can be used so that you can test the user experience unbiasedly?
I think there are a lot of market researches available, and a lot of surveys are also there. I have filled surveys about companies who have launched some designs and asked me for my opinions, but they are not a product market fit yet. We can ask people to give their honest reviews, and then take those data and validate into our product, and then officially launch it. Sometimes surveys are either for the people who are willing to give them, and sometimes the surveys can be paid, like we can pay people to attend our surveys. It varies. Also market research is also there. We can see previous common what our competitors are doing, or what other relevant people are getting feedback. So yeah.
Any follow-up questions based on a response?
No.
I have
Any
a
other
question.
question?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
sure.
have a question. So, how does a user experience design like help bridge the gap between the user's urgency to get things done quickly and their needs to trust the process?
I think as early as it resonates. For example, we use the example of an app, telehealth app. So if a single mother is using something for her son, she's getting a lot of jargon heavy or a lot of process. So it becomes more troubling. As if we keep it simple, if it communicates very, as smoothly as it can, then trust is immediately built. So having no fluff, keeping it direct, and if it's a clear cut communication, it builds both trusts and gives importance to urgency as well.
Any follow-up questions? Okay. Any other questions based on their presentation? All right. So let's move forward to the next team. So you guys can start your presentation, but before you begin your presentation, please give the reason behind naming of your team and also 1 minute summary of your entire presentation. You may proceed now.
Yeah. So we choose the name Team Flowmakers because we want to make using any product easy and smooth for people. We believe good design should help users move without confusion. So coming to presentation, UX leadership means designing with the users in mind. Using Zomato as an example, they help people order food easily by focusing on speed, clear design, and user needs, not just adding random features. This builds trust and keeps users coming back. Zomato's team tests what users want, and even leaders use the app to feel the user's experience. The main point, if we want people to use and love our product, we need to think like them and design for them. So coming to slides, let's start by understanding why UX leadership matters. Ananya, can you move forward? Yeah. Think about Zomato. Their success isn't just because they deliver food, it's because they have built a user first foundation. Every part of the app, from how fast it loads to how reliable the delivery tracking is, shows that they care about the user's experience. That clarity shapes their product, their brand, and even how their team works together. Moving forward. Now, let's look at how values shape design. Zomato focuses on what their users really need: quick food access without confusion. That's why the app makes it so easy to search, filter, and reorder. They don't waste time on unnecessary features. This shows that when a business listens to users, it ends up building exactly what people want, not what the company assumes they need. Over to you, Vamshi.
Yeah, UX isn't about how an app looks, but it's about how it makes users feel. Think about Zomato. When users are hungry or stressed, they want fast and reliable delivery. So Zomato shows ratings, estimated time of arrival, hygienic info, and reputable options. Live tracking helps reduce stress, and if something goes wrong, support is fast. So that's the empathy. It solves users' problem before they even ask. Moving forward, good UX creates habits and loyalty. Zomato makes ordering smooth, fast orders, and simple reorderings. During hunger, people trust it to work. That leads to more repeat users, and word of mouth growth. A great experience brings users back and again. Handing over to the Daiga.
Yes, so UX isn't only a designer's job, it is a leadership responsibility. Leaders at Zomato use the app themselves to spot issues and make decisions based on real user experiences. So, when leaders think like users, the whole team follows that mindset. Moving forward. Uh, a smooth user experience builds trust, loyalty, and long term success. That's why UX should come before adding the features. If users don't enjoy using it, they won't come back, no matter how many features we add. Moving forward. Yes, to conclude, we can say that good UX means understanding what users need and making things simple for them. If we focus on experience first, features will actually work better, and that's what makes the user stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Flowmakers, for your presentation. It was a great presentation indeed. So over to other team for their questions.
Question: how can UX leadership contribute to aligning internal and external stakeholders?
Sir Vishal, could you reframe the question? I couldn't understand.
Basically, how do you make sure, like, not you, how does UX leadership make sure that while building any product or any process, that all the stakeholders are aligned, all the people who are involved, either directly or indirectly, who are affected by the product or are involved in the decision making of it, are included and aligned to what is being made.
Yeah, okay. Zomato prioritize essentials like tracking, ETA, because users are often hungry and stressed, right? So this shows the leadership thought, empathy, and clarity, not just the design. I hope this answers your question.
Any follow-up questions? Okay, any other questions for Team Flowmakers?
Yeah, I
So,
would like to. Yeah,
go
sure, go
on,
ahead.
ma'am. Okay, so basically, you all mentioned how Zomato, the leaders at Zomato, they test the pain points themselves, right? They go ahead and test the product and see it. But won't that, and then you also mentioned that it colors the entire team's perspective like that, right? So if the leader is the owner of that product, won't that be really, biased? Like if the leader themselves goes into it and only on the basis of their judgment of the pain points, it happens. Like what would you exactly do to come out of that bias, because if the leader is only handling the pain points and going and checking in that.
So, leaders can miss small pain points, right? As you said. But then that's why Zomato also uses the real user testing and data, like not just leaders' judgment, but leaders testing the app is helpful, but it's sure to be combined with the user's feedback to avoid that bias.
Are you satisfied with the answer? Any follow-up questions? Any other questions for Team
Yeah, I
Flowmakers?
have one.
Yes, Nandini.
Well, do you guys reflected that how both empathy and leadership is important? I just want to know that in case of Zomato, their US culture does it reflect empathy, or is it just simply trying to match the PMF just to scale? And can we copy uh, this whole UX process into some UX principles into a product with other needs, like for example in our case like therapy booking or some crisis management, something similar?
Yeah, Nandini, you can definitely include our UX design to another topic that you have discussed, because Zomato shows not only the ratings but also the estimated time of arrival. So when the user is stressed, he feels like, will my order receive correctly or not here? Or where is my order currently? So you want to track the progress of the order. So this is what the Zomato shows, and also the hygienic info. And with the affordable offerings in Zomato. So I think, yeah.
Are you satisfied with the answers?
So I just want to know that what's the priority? As in, is it empathy or is it scaling?
I think this is what the empathy, uh, taking consider of the user, and giving the estimated time of arrival of the order, and showing the ratings of the food that specifically searched by the user, and also showing the hygienic info of the particular restaurant, and also the in affordable prices.
Right. Yeah. And do you think we can adopt it into other principles, other this UX principles can be adapted into other ventures?
Yes, I think, not I think, but we can definitely, um, uh, yeah, we can definitely adopt the US principles of the Zomato.
Any follow-up questions, Nandini?
No, not from my end.
Any other questions for team flow makers based on their presentation?
Okay, so while ensuring that there is a flow in this entire user experience, right? Your team mentioned that. So as you're maintaining that flow, how do you make sure that any fluff, right, any discrepancies that are just showing up because of you trying to keep things smooth, if they show up, what is your strategy to get rid of that?
So to ensure the flow without fluff, our strategy would be starting very simple, like focus on tips the user truly needs, and then test it with the real users, like watch where they get stuck or confused, and then remove anything which is slowing them down. Let's say if there are some unnecessary things showing up, like we discuss about the restaurant which he doesn't need, so we can use the filters which is provided there, and we can improve the filter feature itself, and we'll use the clearer labels and small hints, and avoid the overload which is happening in the mind of the user.
Any follow-up questions?
No, makes sense.
All right. So any other questions based on the pitch? Okay, I suppose there are no more questions. So let's move forward. And before we end this week's Socratic dialogue, let's have three reflections based on the discussion we have had on UX and UX leadership, and how would you use UX in your team and in different projects you're working on. So what reflections you have gathered from today's discussion? So who's coming first?
Yeah, I would like to reflect.
Sure, Nandini.
Yeah, so I will keep it very crisp. What I learned is empathy is very important rather than technical outlook. If we see ourselves as the one who other uses, then the whatever we are generating, it resonates much more rather than thinking in a very technical sense of way. So in our work, we should make sure not to you make like whatever we're generating, not to make it very professional or very centric, and make it accessible for all. A good UX is something which is widely resonating and understandable.
Exactly. So who's coming for the next reflection?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, Vamshi.
Yeah, as per me, UX leadership means guiding teams with the user's pain points at the center, or not building more, but building what truly helps the users.
Right,
So that's what ends the loyalty of the trust, and not just the users, but in teams.
right. So one last reflection, guys. What have you understood from this session, and especially how you can use UI in your, projects you're working on, as well as later in the future?
Yeah, I'd like to go.
Yeah, Deita.
So my main takeaway from the entire discussion would be like I think UX and service are very similar, and the commonality that I find in between both of them is the hospitality mindset, right? So just like we see in restaurants or hotels, that same hospitality mindset is what UX is about, and for that to work well, like leaders play a big role, and like they set the tone into the team and encourage the entire team to like think from the user's perspective what the people want.
Yeah, standing in the shoes of the user and understanding their perspective, right? So I think we have had a great discussion. Any other reflections you'd like to give, anybody?
Yeah, I would go. So I
Yeah,
would say
Karthik.
focusing on empathy, focusing on user experience would finally lead to scaling up of the company. So our main focus should be of providing better experience to user. So we have to use the leadership qualities in such a way that we can provide the better user experience, which can help in the scale up of the company.
Precisely. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this week's Socratic Dialogue.